Hi family, welcome back to our channel. This is our first official YouTube video. I wanted to come on here just to give you guys an intro. And as you can see, I'm doing it from my car. If you're a parent, you know sometimes you have to seek quiet in the most unconventional places. So here I am on YouTube from the car. The video for this week is really about our pre-diagnosis journey with autism. I get asked all the time how I knew Caleb was autistic, what signs did we see, how did we get to our evaluation. So it only seemed right to start our YouTube journey and sharing our story with the very beginning, pre-diagnosis. Hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I feel like our story starts like many others I've heard before in the autism community. I brought home a perfectly healthy and happy baby boy. He was bright-eyed and alert from day one. He started very early trying to roll and hold his little head up. For the first year, Caleb was hitting all the typical milestones according to his doctor. He was born in Connecticut, and we had all of our scheduled visits, and concerns were never raised from neither myself or the doctor. Caleb was crawling and walking fairly early, way before he turned 1. He was cooing and babbling. He loved oatmeal, sweet potatoes, and tolerated some green foods. He tried all different kinds of foods, actually, and most were successful. He was curious, loved the sound of music, and very loud and animated. The first challenge, which we didn't realize was a challenge, was car rides. He hated being confined in his car seat. It was unbearable to him, and we would only find comfort with someone in the back seat with him. This is actually how the iPad was introduced. It became our lifeline to get anything done outside of the house. The other challenge came soon after he turned 1. We started experiencing what we thought would be a picky eater phase, but at 5.5, it's still a challenge, and we're still working on it, as it's gotten worse over time. At the time, I thought all these things would just be things that he grew out of, but I really became concerned when I realized Caleb's speech wasn't developing as it should. This in turn led to behavioral problems due to frustration, which at the time I hadn't realized were even related. Caleb was counting, saying his alphabet, things like ready, set, go, but not much more. He had started to call me baby because that's what I called him, but he wouldn't address his grandmother or anyone else. Small words like eat, cup, bye-bye, he just wouldn't or couldn't seem to verbalize. He understood enough to point to his cup when he wanted something to drink or wave hi, but couldn't find his words. In hindsight, I understand why he would have been frustrated, even at 2 years old. We heard the usual song and dance from doctors, one in Georgia where we lived briefly, and again in Florida, that he was just a boy and they develop slower than girls. He'll speak once he's in daycare and around his peers, we were told. There was nothing to be concerned about just yet. As his mom, I knew otherwise. I was concerned, but I hadn't found my voice yet. At least my advocacy voice. At 2 years and 2 months, I enrolled Caleb in daycare as we got to Florida and was hopeful he'd find his words alongside the kiddos in class like the doctors had promised, but no such luck. The frustration increased, the aggression increased. My mom and I were battered and bruised and exhausted. Surely this is not what the terrible twos are like. Our concern was validated 2 months into daycare when the director and owner of the facility called me into her office weeks after trying to be patient with Caleb. He'd had numerous instances of biting other kids and teachers. I was embarrassed and I felt awful for them. I felt awful for us. I was really trying to get his behavior under control, and I felt like I was failing. I was a bad mom with a bad kid, and now we were both in trouble. It was quite the opposite, though. She was concerned, but not upset, and we were not in trouble. She was a mama who had recognized some of her son's traits in Caleb, and she had some advice to give us. She was the first one to identify Caleb's behavior as frustration and not the terrible twos. She saw how smart he was and how he loved his friends, and then in an instant would lash out. She noticed that he wasn't eating the same things as other kids. He wasn't using the spoon like his peers. He wasn't playing like the rest of them, keeping to himself mostly. She told me, "Have you ever considered speech therapy? And maybe you should look up sensory processing disorder." I asked immediately with tears in my eyes if that was autism, and she smiled and said, "Not necessarily, but I'm not a medical professional." She explained her son had been diagnosed with SPD, and step 1 was speech therapy. She also said to me that no matter what the doctor said, I should demand a referral, You are his mother, she said, and they work for you. Somehow this woman, who I thought was judging my parenting, became a voice for not only Caleb, but myself. I left there feeling empowered. I had been given my advocacy voice, and finally, I was on the path to helping my baby.